Hey everybody, I am meteorologist Leah Pezzetti, and I wanted to take a moment to really break down our forecast because we are once again going to raise that first alert weather flag, and we are going to keep this in place through Saturday evening because we have another potential for low-level snow heading our way. Now, I want to preface this with it's not going to be as interesting, as widespread, and as impactful as what we saw this last week. We saw multiple areas and multiple nights of widespread accumulations of multiple inches. Yes, we do have some low-level snow heading our way, and some areas could see some nice accumulations, but it's not going to be a widespread event. However, we are keeping an eye on tonight and into tomorrow morning. So let's take a look at that. I want to show you the big picture and then we'll zoom it in just a moment, but we can see this low is just off the coast right now. We see that circulation. What's going to happen is that's going to move in overnight tonight, and as we kick that moisture in, we'll time that with our coldest point of the day. That's going to help with that snow formation. We'll continue that through into tomorrow afternoon. So this is not an incredibly wet event, but that little bit of moisture that we're kicking in definitely can bring some rain and also that potential for snow. So this is the look. It's 6 o'clock right now on Friday evening. Here's a look at what we're seeing as of 6 p.m. this evening. Everett, our camera at Painfield, showing that we do still have snow there out on, looks like, our grassy surfaces. So yes, many areas do still have some snow on the ground. Places like Tacoma, though, most of that has melted off at this point. So we're kind of seeing that taper off, our impacts taper off from this last week's weather, but we are going to kick a little bit more moisture into play as we look forward. Here's a look from Bellingham as of 6 p.m. A little bit of daylight still left out there. We see that cloud coverage increasing. That's a sign of what's to come. And it's much colder up to the north, especially now that our sun is setting. So that's especially why we're going to see our best chance at accumulations up to the north, because it's where we'll see some of our coldest temperatures. But the moisture isn't in play quite yet up to the north. We're keeping it down to the south. I'll show you that in just a moment. But right now, Bellingham is at 28 degrees, and we will continue that journey cooling down into our evening and overnight hours. So here's where the moisture is as of right now, as of 6 p.m. on Friday evening. We have a couple sprinkles that are popping up over along the coast, and we do have some moisture that's kind of passing through down to the south, right around that Washington-Oregon border. We'll zoom that in and I'll show you this is a great example of that rain-snow mix. We see the different colors here on our radar, the green indicating the rain, the whites and blues indicating that snow. They're blended together, so it's trying to snow, but it's just too warm out there still at this point in the evening, so it is not successful, but we'll see that transition into our overnight and morning hours. Here's a look at our temperatures as of right now, as of 6 p.m. So the sun did just set. We're still holding on to a good amount of that daytime warmth, but we'll be watching these temperatures drop here very quickly as the sun continues to set and we see that darkness and that cold settle in. So Tacoma actually as of right now is still hanging on to 40 degrees. So as that moisture is moving in down south, it's too warm out there for it to snow. But once that continues up to the north, that's where we have some of our coldest temperatures. Mount Vernon, Everett, just above freezing right now, and they will be cooling down here very shortly. So yes, that's going to help with that snow formation. Temperatures and moisture are something we've talked a lot about this week. As we've watched these rounds of moisture move in, we see it. When it falls during the day, it doesn't stick. It's too warm out there. But when it falls overnight, that's when we have our cold temperatures. That's when we start to see those accumulations. And that's what we're going to continue to see really for the next 24 hours is different bands of moisture moving through. And depending on what time they pass, that's going to play a huge part in if it sticks and if it accumulates. So as of right now, it's too warm for it to stick. But we do see that moisture starting to move in over the Olympic Peninsula and into down south. I'm going to play the clock forward into about midnight here is what we're seeing, just after midnight. It's slow moving and it's not very wet, but we are still starting to see that creep toward, it looks like kind of Hood Canal or southern Kitsap Peninsula and then around South Sound. And at this point, take a look at those temperatures. Yeah, we're much closer to freezing, right around freezing in some of those areas. So that at that point, we could certainly start to see some of those snowflakes sticking. But over along the coast, it's kind of a rain-snow mix still. Then into our morning hours tomorrow. This is going to be our coldest point of the day, so this is going to be one of our best time frames to see those accumulations. This is the picture as of tomorrow, Saturday morning at 7:30 a.m. We have a good amount of moisture north of King County. A few spotty showers are brushing by down to the south, so we certainly could see some snowflakes down south, but we're going to focus our attention up to the north of really the Seattle metro area. we see those cold temperatures right around freezing. We see a good amount of that moisture, Snohomish, Skagit, Whatcom counties. So at this point, this is when we're seeing our best shot for that accumulating snow, but we're going to keep those accumulations up to the north. I'll show you expected totals in just a moment. Then during the day, we're going to shift a lot of that moisture east of Puget Sound. What this is going to mean is that, yes, we will see a rain and a rain-snow mix and snow falling during the day, but this is noon here when we have a lot of this moisture that comes into play. So at this point, temperatures will be well above freezing. We're really warming things up. It's going to be much harder for it to stick, especially for those areas right around sea level. So yes, we certainly could see a little bit of a rain-snow mix around the Seattle metro area, and then as we get into kind of our suburbs, but it's going to be much, much harder for it to stick. That being said, we push into the foothills. We get a little bit of elevation, add a few hundred feet to the equation, and that's where we could start to see it sticking. So we could see some accumulations in places along I-90, Highway 2, into our foothills of Snohomish, Skagit, and Whatcom counties. So that is during the day tomorrow. Add a little elevation and we could add a good amount of accumulation as well. Then into our evening hours, we start to see things taper off. Oh, and I will say also that we are going to see the potential for some mountain snow tomorrow afternoon over our passes. So if you are traveling the passes, I-90, Highway 2 tomorrow, do be ready for some active snow to be falling in the afternoon. That was what I just showed you at noon. But now we'll progress forward into 6 p.m. here, and we'll kick a lot of that moisture down to the south. But still, at this point in the day, we're kind of on the warmer side. So I'm not expecting those accumulations to be major because we'll still be above freezing in most cases. Unless you're along I-90, it looks like we could continue to see some showers over I-90 for those higher elevations. Then overnight, Saturday night into early Sunday morning, a few flurries still falling. At this point, we see a couple pockets of snow. This is what I was talking about with when we have the moisture and the cold temperatures. This could bring a little bit of snow to the Seattle metro area overnight Saturday into Sunday morning. But what I'm seeing here is very minor spotty showers. So it's not going to be widespread snow early Sunday morning. But if you do see those pockets of showers moving through, then yes, they could be snow showers. Into the day on Sunday, we'll progress forward even more. Here's Sunday afternoon. We have a few showers that linger, but same thing. We look at the temperatures, we look at the time of day. We'll be well above freezing, so it looks like those flurries that move in Sunday afternoon don't look to stick or accumulate. So this is an hourly breakdown, and this paints the picture very well for tomorrow. This says Seattle, but this will be true for basically Seattle and everywhere north of Seattle. We have our coldest temperatures in the morning, right around freezing. We have that moisture, so we have a good shot at some snow tomorrow morning. But as those temperatures warm up and we get into the upper 30s, we're going to transition to a rain-snow mix, and then we're going to dry out into our evening hours. So really our best shot at that snow and that snow sticking is going to be tomorrow morning. We'll keep it north of King County. Here's a look at our lows for tomorrow morning. This is another thing we've really spent a lot of time talking about this week because it has been downright cold. We're warming our lows up a little bit, so this is closer to normal. This is still cooler than normal though. But upper 20s, low 30s expected. So similar to what we've been saying the last couple of days is it could be icy out there. Even if we don't have it actively snowing out there, with these sub-freezing temperatures, we could certainly see that moisture that's on the roadway refreeze and create that black ice scenario. So a good thing to keep in mind, even if you're not actively seeing snow tomorrow morning, it could be icy out there early in the morning. Then during the day, we'll warm things up, upper 30s into the low 40s. These are our daytime highs for tomorrow. All right, let's talk about some of those snow accumulations. So here's a look at tomorrow morning. This is about 8:30 a.m. And at this point, that's when we had that moisture up to the north that I just showed you. Accumulations are very minor. This is not going to be snowmageddon. We saw the majority of our accumulations earlier this week, likely seeing up to about half an inch of snow for most areas. Add that elevation and we'll add those accumulations. So we could see isolated totals up to 1 to 2 inches of snow. But this is really just going to be traced to half an inch of snow for most of us tomorrow morning. Then we'll progress into the afternoon. At this point, we'll shift our focus to the mountains. So we could see 2, 3, upwards of 4 inches of snow for our mountains into tomorrow afternoon. And then we'll start to taper things off. Okay, so that was a bulk of the forecast. Just to recap it all, we're keeping an eye on the potential for rain for many of us this evening, but snow into tomorrow morning. We'll hold on to some showers during the day, but we'll transition to more of a rain snow event during the day. Then into next week, it does look like we will finally dry things out, but we are holding on to cold temperatures. Look at that. We're going to drop those lows down into the teens and 20s into early next week. And then we will do it all again into next week, something we'll keep an eye on. But for now, Saturday morning is our day we're keeping an eye on for a little bit more of those snow accumulations. Don't forget to stay with our King 5 weather team. I'll be here this evening. Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett is in the driver's seat late night tonight. Ashley Ruiz will be back tomorrow morning, keeping an eye on where the snow is tomorrow morning. So don't forget to stay with your King 5 weather team all weekend long.